Hello everyone and welcome back to my top 100. We are getting closer and closer to the bestest of the best games, and today we are going through from 30 to 21. So join me on this batch of 10 fantastic games, and remember to let me know in the comment section below which you think is the best of this 10. Let's jump into it. Number 30 is Ghost Blitz. This is the one that gives all of the Fs, and what do I mean by that? It is fast, it's frantic, it's fantastic, and it is a lot of fun. Why? You are turning a card over and trying to work out either what's not on the card, like, oh, there's no blue thing on there, so I need to grab the blue object from the middle, or what is perfectly represented. The red chair is there, I need to grab the red chair. That's how simple this game is. Yes, there's an advanced mode in there. You mostly probably want to skip that and just play that fast, fun, frantic mode. As a card is turned over and everyone is staring at it so intensely, like, what is there? What is missing? What is perfectly right? And grabbing that thing, and you get this like thing where everyone's trying to grab, and if you grab the wrong thing, you have to give up one of the cards you'd previously won. But if you grab the right thing, you take that card as a point, and you're just trying to do it as quick as you can. It's a really, really great game to just have in the collection to get out at any time. It doesn't take long. You can play through like the entire deck of cards and then see who has won. There's a sequel that I reviewed recently on the channel, but I do prefer the original Ghost Blitz. What a game. Number 29 is a great game. Yes, a great game called The Mind. I think so many people get wrapped up in it and say, oh, it's only an experience, there's not enough to call it a game. But that's what board games are. They're all just supposed to be great, fun experiences, right? That you can enjoy either on your own, solo, or with other players. And you can really enjoy this game, The Mind, with other players. Yes, there's maybe not much going on that's not in your mind during the gameplay, but it's still a great game. In this, if you've not heard of it, it's a deck that is 1 to 100. Yeah, that's pretty much the whole thing. There's some life cards because you've only got so many lives to do this cooperative experience. In round 1, each player will have 1 card from that deck of 100 that's been shuffled, and you just need to play them in order from lowest to highest. That is the game, right? That's the entire experience. But you can't tell other players what your card is. So you've got number 20. Well, there's 19 other cards that are lower than that. So you maybe wait a little bit of time. Wait a little bit of time. Well, no one's played anything yet, so I'm going to play mine. And everyone goes, and you either, oh, I had something lower, and you lose a life, or you go, okay, no one's got anything lower, we're still good, we carry on. And you try and just play as a group, up to 4, you can squeeze in a 5th, you can try and play them in the right order. And if you manage that, you go to the next level where everyone gets 2 cards, and then 3 cards, 4 cards, and by the end you get it where it's like someone plays 71, someone goes, plays 72, and someone else then plays 73, and you're like, how did we just play those in order without telling anyone any information about what our cards are? And just to put into context something, there's a little story here before we move on to the next game about The Mind. I played this on a bullet train while I was in China, not just with friends that I went with, because we were playing the game, but our tour guide, who, yes, spoke really good English, like, you know, communicated very well, but it certainly wasn't his first language. Spoke a lot better than my Chinese, obviously. But I still was managed to able to explain the game and play it with him on a bullet train in China, because he'd sort of seen us having fun with this game and wanted to give it a go. And it's just one of those things that's created a lasting memory for me. And maybe that boosts this game up, but I've played it at many, many different occasions, and we've always loved The Mind. The Resistance Avalon has fallen a little bit. It's fallen 7 spaces from last time, so it was still in this sort of 20s sort of range. But this is a great social deduction game that gets people, hopefully the right people, sort of really spurred up and energetic and shouting at people, but not in like an aggressive way, but like, I know you were bad, you've got to be, you failed this mission, because this is one of those social deduction games where everyone gets a hidden role. You get someone that's Merlin that knows a little bit of information but can't just be like, I'm Merlin, I know this, because then the bad guys will just say, we've discovered who Merlin is, we win. The bad guys sometimes have special powers, maybe a quirk where they don't know each other, but that makes it sometimes harder for them, so there's a little bit of disadvantage goes over for the good guys, and there's just so many different like roles that you can add in. The only thing with this one is that there are some people that are just like standard good guys that are still very much under suspicion from everyone. As with any good social deduction game, no one really knows any information until they find out something like this. That there's the Lady the Lake card, for instance, that is like, you will use it on someone, you can determine whether they are good or bad, and they have to truthfully tell you. But will anyone else believe you? If you're bad and they've just shown you that they're good, you're going to tell everyone else, oh yeah, he's just shown me that he's bad. And will people believe you? Or they go, actually, I think he's good, that means you're bad, and it maybe has backfired, and you've got all this sort of intricate plays of, you go on a mission and it's like, okay, there's a lot of us on this, if I fail it, the doubt is on a number of players, whereas if there's only 2 of us on the mission and I fail it, it's either them or me, so I've got to really do some good spiel here to get away with this. But just a really great game that I've fueled many great gaming nights, and one of those ones that you start the game night with, or you end it with it, and you just have a great time. That's the Resistance Avalon. Number 27 is a brand new game to the list. Unfortunately, my own personal copy, won't be here this year. I really was hoping it was going to arrive before Christmas, but it looks more like a Q1, maybe start a Q2 arrival for Ready, Set, Bet. This is a fantastic, fast, horse racing-like experience that means people kind of just intuitively know at least half of the rules. One player or an app controls this horse race. You roll these dice and move the numbered horses appropriately. So you roll a 4, the number 4 horse moves. And now obviously the central horses, therefore, like your 6s, 7s and 8s, they're more likely to move. But if you ever roll like a higher number, or a lower number, like a 2 or something, multiple times in a row, they get massive boosts of movement. And that can mean that all of a sudden that horse that you thought, well, that number's not going to be rolled very often, massively shoots along the track and could actually be in like the top 3. And you're trying to do the standard betting on horse races of like, oh, it's going to come first, or in like the top 2, that sort of stuff. And there's other quirky bets that you're like, right, none of these blue horses are going to finish ahead of the red horse. Different, because they're in slightly different colours depending on, their odds almost of being rolled. And it's just a really quick one where you can explain it in a matter of minutes and be rolling the dice, running this thing and having a lot of fun as people are throwing their bets in on different things. And some of the bets might lose you something, you've bet on that, but you bet too really late on. So if you're wrong about that, you're actually going to lose some coins. And it's just a really great sort of experience. And I really want to have my own copy of this so I can play it more. And it sounds like, unfortunately, that's not going to happen for a few months. But a fantastic game that I'm happy will be entering the collection properly. If you are looking for a bigger game with a huge deck of cards and animals, then, well, look no further than Ark NOA. It's got some great tile placement as you're building out your zoo. It's got these great different amount of animals, and you can try and fit different types. Maybe you're going for just big animals in your park, so it will take you longer to have built these pens or enclosures, I think they're called, for your animals. Like, it needs a 5-sized one. That's going to cost you a lot more and take you a lot longer maybe to get your build up to do that, but a lot of points. Or you maybe go for a load of really small ones and just sort of scatter them round a little bit and trigger some things on your player board when you're building them. And it's got this great, it's all driven by this great card system that was, it was in one of the Civilization board games, and I liked it in that, and I think it's fantastic in Ark Nova. Of when you take an action, it's either at level 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and the level means of how good it is. Like, I'm playing this build action at level 3, which means I can normally build like 3-sized enclosure. So maybe I need it to be level 4 or 5 to build bigger. And then it goes down to number 1 and everything else slides up a bit to sort of fill that gap. So sometimes you have to take whatever is at number 5, even if it doesn't need to be at 5 for you at the moment, just so you can get everything else moved up a little bit. Whether it's grabbing cards from the market or playing some sponsors and different things like that. It's really cool the way this card system works. You're getting loads of animals that trigger different powers, maybe triggering off each other. And you've then got this cool scoring, which is effectively your conservation going one way and like your tickets and happiness of your park going the other. And when they cross, it's how far past each other you get them. That is your score. And it's a big game, which means it doesn't hit the table as much as it used to, just for time and space purposes. But what a great game Ark Nova is. At 25 is another brand new game, and well, last one was Ark Nova. This one is significantly smaller, and this is Sea Salt and Paper. This is a fantastic small box card game that I think does take a couple of minutes to explain, but once you've played like a round or two round the table, everyone is like, yes, I get this, and I can see why it could be good. It's got a couple of quirks to it, but I think actually they make the game. So the idea is you're normally collecting like these pairs of cards, or trying to get these pairs of cards that you can then play to trigger an ability. So you get these two cards, you can put them down in front of you, they'll be scoring you at the end of the round, but also now you get to take a bonus card from the top of the deck, or from one of the discard piles in the middle. And when you're drawing cards, you can go from either of those piles or just from the top of the deck. Some things it's maybe not got an ability, but like, oh, you collect these penguins, and the more of the penguins you get, or the more of these shells you get, the more points they're worth. Then there's some others, which there's one type where if you get a shark and a swimmer, if you get that pair, you can put it down and steal a card from an opponent. Which I wouldn't like if it happened too much, but it happens just enough to keep people a bit wary of, oh, maybe I want to end the game, or this round. Why? Because once you've got so many points, I think it's 7 from memory, but I might be wrong. Once you've got over 7 points worth of cards in your hand, or played in front of you, you can end the round. But how you end the round is really interesting. You can either say that the round is over, everyone count your points and let's see how we did, or you can push your luck and say, not only am I ending the round, I think I've got more points than everyone else. And if you do, you get bonus points. If you don't, you lose a chunk of the points that you would have earned. What a fantastic little card game. Like I say, its quirks maybe make it slightly harder to teach or to explain, but it's still only a couple of minutes, and once you've played a game or two, you're going to keep coming back for more, because it's a fantastic experience in a tiny box. There's also an expansion, Extra Salt. Not needed, but fun. Number 24 is Skull. Now this is a fantastic, another small, quick sort of game. This one you can play, again, like Sea Salt and Paper, the last one, with a good number of players as well. I think this one goes up to about 6, although there's some different versions, so maybe some go up to maybe 8. I'm not entirely sure about that. But it's also called Skull and Roses sometimes, and in this game you are given these almost like bar mat, like thin-ish cardboard token things. They're quite chunkily sized. 3 of them have roses or flowers on. 1 of them has a skull. And on your turn at the start of the round, everyone puts one of their tiles, whichever one they like, down in front of them. Then, with one player starting, they'll either choose to play another one of theirs on top of their one in front of them, or they can say a number. Once the number's been started, that's how many tiles they are confident they can turn over without finding a skull. So, if they've played a skull in front of them, they're bluffing you, because they have to turn over their one first before they start turning ones over from other people's piles. Now, once someone started that call of, I could turn 2 over, the next player's choice is, I could turn either more than that, so 3, 4, or you go, no, I'm dropping out. But if everyone else drops out, that person is left having to turn it over, which means if they have bluffed, well, they've screwed themselves over, because if they turn over flowers of the number they've said, so maybe they've said 3 flowers, and they manage to turn their tiles over, they're all flowers, and then one other person's, so they've got 3, they don't need to turn any more over, and they can flip effectively their personal player board beer mat thing over, and you do that twice, you win the game. Or you turn over a skull and you lose one of your tiles randomly. So maybe you play the rest of the game without a skull, so you can't do that part of bluffing, but you also then need to bluff that you've still got your skull, because, well, people otherwise will always try and turn yours over pretty fast. A really cool game though. Like I say, it's sometimes called Skull, sometimes Skull and Roses. Definitely give this one a go, and it's a small one that should be in most people's collection, I think. Now, this is probably an interesting choice for some people, because I think a lot of people prefer the Golem edition of Century Spice Road, which I think is just called like Century Golem Edition. Yeah, I get it, the gemstones in that look pretty cool, but I find actually the vibrant colours that a lot of people really like of the Golem edition, I kind of prefer the boring idea of the spice fields and trading up spices from Spice Road. The gameplay is identical in the 2 of them. You are trying to get these cards into your hand that when you play them allow you to maybe create a red cube, or turn that red cube into 2 brown cubes and a green. Yeah, that would actually be a really overpowered trade. But like, you get these cards that do these things from this market, and then once you've got all of these spice cubes, trade them in for victory point scoring cards. It sounds really tedious, I get that. It's certainly not the most fun theme in the world, spice trading. But it's a really cool experience as you're trying to get some of these cards in your hand that could combo together. Like, on this turn, I can create 2 yellow cubes, and then next turn, I can turn 2 yellow cubes into 2 green cubes. Then another card that maybe turns 1 green cube back into, say, 5 yellow cubes. So I can start that process again, and I'm not running out, and I'm not having to just play this other one that I started with that just gets me one little thing. I can do bigger turns and get these cool combos going to get lots of high-valued ones that allow me to buy the big point-scoring cards rather than just a number of the smaller ones. A really cool experience. I think I'm probably in the minority that prefer Spice Road to the Golem edition. Gameplay wise, they're identical, but I kind of prefer the original theming. Falling out of my top 20 games is Twilight Imperium IV edition. Is it a worse game than it was? No. Has it been played since I made the last list? Once. And that's the issue here. It's a fantastic game. It's incredible. It takes exactly what you want from a space conflict opera of a game and condenses it down into amazing choices, plastic minis, these armies that just battle each other. You smash your capital ships into their war sun. There's fighters going around. There's planets to be controlled. There's political manipulation and buying almost of votes. Trades going on. Alliances being made, formed, broken, backstabbed. It's a fantastic game. I would love to get it to the table more. But with 2 kids and limited time, dedicating an entire day to a game, it's not really going to happen very often. Staying in the collection and staying high because of the memories it's created, the brilliant game that it is, and hopefully in a few years' time I'll be able to get it back to the table and enjoy it more often, because it really is a great game. And for one of these games that takes 6-8 hours, I don't think it's actually that complicated. If you played RTS games, space RTS games on the computer, you could walk into this and kind of understand it. Yeah, you'd need to go through a rules teach, which can take half an hour, but you'd pick it up and you'd go, yeah, this makes sense. The tech tree makes sense. What you're doing on a turn makes sense. And just, you've got so many choices, so many different ships, so many different things you can do. Jump through wormholes, attack someone over there, take their home planet out so they can't score all these objectives, and it's just fantastic. Some great memories and great experiences in Twilight Imperium 4th edition. And number 21 is a completely different game from the last. This is all about tile placement goodness and animals, of course, in Cascadia. What do I like about this, and why do I recommend it so much? If people ask me about a modern game that they should look into, I really like tile placement. There'll have been a lot of them on this sort of top 100. But it's like double layered. You're placing these tiles out to grow these habitat regions that you're then putting like birds or bears on top of. So you get this 2 layers. You're building the habitats and you're putting the animals on top of them. And the different animals score differently. Maybe the fish, the salmon in this one, want to be in like a wiggly river line. The hawks, they don't want to be near each other at all. Whereas in the next game, maybe it's actually you need them in pairs or different things like that. I just like the way this one plays with that tile placement. It's nice and obvious. You want to build out these regions, and then you've got the sort of logics of when you're taking these pairs of tile and bird, or tile and animal, sorry, where am I placing that tile? Is this thing that I've just picked up going on that, or a previous tile that I'd placed? And you've got scoring objectives in multiple different ways in terms of your regions that you're building out, how those animals are scoring, and some just goodness there. So I really like it, and I think a lot of gamers should at least try Cascadia, and I'm excited to at some point try the roll and write and the expansions, and there's even a junior edition coming, which maybe in a few years I'd look into to play with my son as well. So wrapping up this part of the list with Cascadia, and well, I think those were 10 fantastic games. But let me know which one was the best, and please tune back in 3 days' time. I'll be going through the next batch of 10 bangers of games, as we will be going into the top 20 games of all time. And until then, have a top day gaming.